We all want to have good connections with our family, to feel accepted, loved, and at home with them. Unfortunately, we very often do not manage to be in that situation, and we spend a lot of energy trying to get to that positive place. This video describes problems not with our primary family relationships, but with those members of our family that we do not choose. Those our family members choose, who then belong in a sense to our family fold, but with whom we have not had a history or a choice, and we are connected to them because our family member chooses to marry a partner whose family members come into the role of family. These family members, in-laws and step-family members, become part of a package and are thence part of our family, but not in the same way as our siblings, parents, grandparents, and children are part of our family. Similarly, our father's family and our mother's family may not have felt that much connection as family, even though for us they are both essentially important because we are equally connected to both sides. I achieve a daughter-in-law and parents-in-law when my son marries. They are a package deal. They are there because of my son's choice, not mine. What I owe them is generosity and politeness. If I'm lucky enough to love them and feel they become my family, that is because I am very fortunate and because my son has made a great choice. If I find them difficult, I must not get into conflicts with them or badmouth them to my son or to others. If they mistreat me, I will need to ask my son diplomatically if he can sort out something to make things work better. The situation becomes more complex, of course, when people are living together, such as if my son and daughter-in-law move in with us. But even then, the basic principle is the same. My daughter-in-law is only in my life because of my son's choice, and it is for this reason that I must treat her well, always keeping that fact in mind if I feel bothered by something she says. If I marry a man who already has 3 children, the children are a package deal. I didn't choose them, I don't have to love them, but I do have to treat them respectfully and not badmouth them to anyone, most especially not to my husband or to his family. History and legend are replete with stories of evil stepmothers and mothers-in-law, vicious or sexual predator stepfathers, self-centered stepsisters, incompetent brothers-in-law, etc., etc. And therapists make fortunes of money listening to stepmothers complain about their stepchildren and young adults complain about their in-laws. If only we could help people to have respect for the basic nature of their relationships and honor the package deal aspect of a choice of a new spouse and all the family members he comes already packaged with. The only move to make ever is toward the person with whom you have your primary relationship, your direct family member whose package it is. If your mother-in-law intrudes on your boundaries, the person to find a solution with is not her, but your spouse. Your spouse is the only one who has the leverage with your mother-in-law, and if he refuses to make a move, you need to keep working at it with him. If your spouse says to his mother, "I ask you for my sake to treat my wife respectfully and generously. Please do this out of your caring for me," his emotional pull on her is the best leverage for her to change. It may not work, but he is the one with the history with her and has the best chance of appealing to her. If you feel your stepchildren give you the evil eye, continue to treat them kindly and ask your spouse in private if he can help you with a problem you're having. It seems his children keep giving you the evil eye whenever you walk in the room, and also never clear the dishes or say thank you. And you need him to get them to share in whatever chores need to be done. Leave it to him to give them any instructions on what chores to do and on saying thank you to you and being polite. Never become the one to correct your stepchildren's behavior or your daughter-in-law or son-in-law's behavior, and do not criticize your in-laws or stepfamily relationships to anyone. Instead, go to your primary relationship with your parent or your partner for help in making the relationship better. The most common in-law triangles seem to involve mother-daughter-in-law conflicts where the son may finally come in to challenge his mother about her outrageous behavior towards his wife. Typically, the mother-in-law will conclude that her daughter-in-law is mentally ill and making their son act irrationally. It's one thing, of course, if an in-law or step-family member actually has a mental illness and addiction or is violent to your immediate family member who is in danger. But it's remarkable how often intelligent people conclude that their child's spouse is mentally ill and has taken over the mind and willpower of their adult child, a situation which is indeed rare. Infiltrating the mind of a sane adult partner is not nearly as common as in-laws and step-families often believe. The best way to manage such conflicts is for the parents and son to manage their reactivity and speak to each other about what they need to sort out. The son needs then to deal with his wife to have her, out of consideration for him, be polite to his parents. Though this, of course, does not mean that the wife should tolerate any mistreatment from the parents, which the son would have to deal with directly with the parents. For the most part, both sides need to, as Murray Bowen used to say, lower their expectations to zero, and they'll probably be happily surprised. We are not, of course, referring to situations where the relationships go well or where there is more closeness between the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law than either have with the son or husband. Margaret Mead's paternal grandmother, for an exceptional example, lived with her only son and his family, but in disagreements the couple had, the grandmother always sided with her daughter-in-law. Even when the son threatened to leave his wife, the grandmother told him strongly that if he left, she would stay with his wife and children. Of course, such in-law connections are the exception, and the point is, it's not a good idea to expect them because they are not predictable given the historical structural connections of a family, which we must respect. When it comes to step-families, stepmothers tend to get the worst deal, frequently being viewed as superficial, self-centered, and not as good as the original mother in almost every case. The issue here is actually structural, and we often say that if the stepmother were God, she couldn't do it right. We always recommend that stepmothers go on vacation from parenting and never be given the primary parent role or limit setter role for their stepchildren. The only parent to be in charge is the primary parent, the one who has the history with the child, and thus the leverage, no matter what rearrangements of finances and logistics this entails. So if you really want to help a stepfamily, as we often say, take a stepmother to lunch. It's not surprising then, as one stepmother put it, that she loved her dog more than her stepdaughter. Of course. Her dog loves her back every day of the week, and she and the dog have a long, loving history already. We should never have the expectation that a stepmother love her stepchildren. That is not reasonable. Only that she be polite and gracious. But before we finish with preliminary guidelines, we want to mention a couple of other rules of thumb. Number 1, follow the money. If a family is dependent on in-law money, there's likely to be placating and discomfort in the long run. The in-laws who give are likely to feel unappreciated and perhaps a subtle right to control certain decision-making. And the family members who take are likely to be resentful for the expectations that are put on them, however subtly they are expressed. Especially problematic can be father-in-law and son-in-law who are financially or work-wise entangled. They will tend, in the end, to become emotionally entangled, and this is very likely to end in triangles between father, sons, and son-in-law. If the wife's family is prominent and has a family business, any son-in-law is likely to have difficulty because of expectations that he fit into the wife's family rather than defining his own ways of being. When it comes to step families, there's a built-in triangle between the step-parent, who will often participate in the support of stepchildren, which gets complicated because the child's loyalties will go towards the parent rather than the step-parent. Another problem, sometimes related to finances, is when one part of the family moves into a home which has been previously established solely by the other. This can leave a stepmother in the home of the original family, perhaps decorated by the previous spouse, in which she feels completely an outsider. Or, if the home is hers, she may be living with stepchildren in her home who do not appreciate her or her decorations.